Hey, this is John Bohlinger with Premier Guitar. Today we're taking a first look at the brand new Marshall ST20C Studio JTM. So this amp starts with the DNA of Marshall's famed JTM 45. Now the JTM 45, of course, that was the amp that Clapton used in the Blues Breakers. Pete Townsend used it. Angus Young at one time used it. So it is part of, of setting the standard of that rock and roll tone. Now, before I tell you all about it, take a second to subscribe below. That way we can keep you up to date on all the cool gear that's out there. Thanks very much. So Marshall's JTM 45 was influenced by the Fender Bassman, but definitely its own thing. And this is capturing, I think, all of that, but making it much more player-friendly for modern players. Let's start with the fact that the 45 was a very loud amp. It's kind of, Clapton sort of famously got in trouble for just playing so loudly during those Blues Breaker sessions, because that's how he got his tone. But luckily, they brought this in at a good solid 20 watts with a switch so bring it down to 5 watts. And we'll get into that later. Far more gig-friendly, user-friendly than the very loud original JTM 45. So let's start with some of the key ingredients, like, for instance, tubes, or for the Brits, valves. This again, has the DNA of Marshall's JTM 45. But an interesting historic fact is the JTM 45 in the first 8 years had 24 different versions, different combinations of tubes. And I think part of that was whatever parts they could source, because again, sourcing parts it was an issue back then, and actually post-quarantine is an issue again, but they settled on the 5881 for that. Next, it has 2 ECC 83 preamp tubes, which is the British equivalent of the American 12AX7. And a key difference between the Marshall and the Fender Bassman is that on the Marshall, the 12AX7s come first. So that definitely is going to affect your tone. The final tube ingredient is the ECC 83 phase splitter. This amplifier, like the JTM 45, has 2 independent channels. And you can see I've got them wired together, which is that great rock and roll trick, and you can kind of pull up one or the other, normal or the treble. Across the top, you have treble, middle, and bass, and presence. It also has a effects loop, which I'm utilizing with a delay, and it has a DI out that is a great sounding speaker simulation. Now next, it has a single 112 Celestion Creamback speaker. But unlike the original Creambacks, this has got a slightly higher wattage rating, and they've done some tweaking to enhance the bass. I think it sounds great. So Marshall is very cognizant about keeping the weight down. Marshalls are notoriously heavy. The original 212 heavy amp. This is a single 12, is lighter, but it's not just the second speaker that makes it heavy. They changed a few different things. In fact, the head version of this amp is 1/3 lighter than the original head. So that's quite a difference. Great for the old back. Okay, this is a hand-built amp in the UK, and I love the fact that they totally nailed that aesthetics from the 60s. I mean, everything about this looks like it came off the showroom floor back in the day. I love that. So before we go any further, let me tell you about my signal chain. This is my Les Paul, about a 20-year-old guitar. I've also got my old 56 Strat. I'll be kind of going between the two. I'm running into a MXR modified OD to give it a little drive, but I left it off for the most part. And then in the effects loop, I have a visual sound dual tap delay. And right now, I have both the normal and the high treble channels linked together like this. And they're both at about 6 o'clock. Trebles trebles in the middle, mids in the middle, bass in the middle, and presence in the middle. And so far I've been on the low 5-watt setting. And here's what it sounds like. Now, just for fun, let's go to the 20-watt setting. Then you go back to that 5-watt. So, as you can hear, there's not a huge difference in volume. To me, it's more of a feel thing. I think that the 20-watt just feels a little bit better to me. Louder is almost always better, so it feels a little more alive like that. But I think the 5-watt is great. I have no problem dropping down the volume to be a little less punishing for the engineer or the rest of the band. So up to this point, I've been playing both channels all the way up, but let's just hear the normal channel first. And let me crank that up a little bit more. That's at about 5.5. Here it is, 3/4 away. Let's just go ahead and dime this pig. Okay, so that's the normal channel. Now, let's get into the high treble. Here we are, this is the other channel. And turn up to 3/4. All the way. Now, what I like to do, and most Marshall players like to do, is kind of give you a blend of both. So I'm going to have the high treble on about 6 and just kind of feather in this normal. Then boost it up there where they're both about 3/4. And just for funsies, let's go ahead and just dime them both. Okay, so that's at 5 watts. Let's go ahead and bump it all the way to 20 watts. And here it is, just dime. Man, that really wakes up. So although Marshalls are famous for that great overdriven tone, I think they have a really pleasing clean tone as well. And if you put a little dirt just on this clean tone, put a pedal in front of it, it takes pedals really well. You can get that overdrive sound, but what it does best is if you just crank that all the way up. We're on the low setting, both of them dimed. That's just a great, straight up, dirty tone. And if you listen to that Bluesbreaker album, the guitar is really dry and you can kind of hear the room a little bit. But it is, normally I love delay, I love reverb, but there's something about a really great, present, dry tone like that just starting to get ugly. Okay, let's go ahead and hear the Strat a little bit. Okay, so now I've got my my old Strat plugged into it, and that's with both both channels right in the middle. Now let's utilize the effects loop and put on that delay. Now just for funsies, let's go ahead and just dime this pig and see what we get. So good on you, Marshall. I love that you did this loving homage to where it all started, but you made it way more practical for modern players like myself. The amp comes in just under $2,000, and for a few $100 less, you can get just the head version. So to read the full written review, go to premierguitar.com. While you're online, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Instagram, Twitter, X, TikTok, all that jazz. Subscribe to the magazine, and we'll keep you up to date on all the cool gear that's out there.